Welcome to the College Football Bros. I am the youngest bro, Michael Newman, and on today's episode, I'm going to take a look at the early Heisman odds for the 2023 season. And at the end of the episode, I will point out a couple of bets that I think could be worth making. But let's start out by taking a look here at the favorites. And of course, up top, you have Caleb Williams from USC, the defending winner. And these odds here are the best available that I was able to find online. So you got Caleb Williams 5.5 to 1 at Bet Online. And he is the deserving favorite. He's the best player in college football. He plays in a Lincoln Riley offense. And the surrounding talent looks to be great again for him this year. So, not a bad price, seeing as he's 4 to 1 at most places, but I'm still not going to bet it. There's just too many things that can go wrong. It's often hard to bet the guy at the top of the odds list here. First of all, injury could obviously put you out of it. Even if you just miss 1 or 2 games, you could be out. USC has a tougher schedule going into next year, so there's a good chance they go 10-2 or worse, in which case I think it's pretty unlikely that he wins it. And there's just the popular theory out there that there's a bias against giving someone a second Heisman, and I certainly could see that being true. If he's going to have to one-up his performance from 2022, that's going to be pretty hard to do. So not quite juicy enough odds there for me. Second, we've got Drake Maye from North Carolina, 12 to 1. I'm sure he'll have a great year, but at those odds, I prefer to bet someone that's on a no-brainer top 5 or top 10 team, and don't quite see North Carolina as that. Jordan Travis, Florida State, 12 to 1. Of course, another quarterback. These are all quarterbacks, as is always the case as the big favorites. Florida State's going to be a very trendy team this upcoming year, rightfully so. They were good last year and have a ton coming back, a really good transfer haul. But I still don't quite look at them and value them as, in past years, the Georgias, Alabamas, Ohio States, where you just know they're going to be great. You know they've got that top 5 talent. So there's still some uncertainty there. And then if you look back at previous winners, the last 5 have had over 40 touchdown passes, the last 5 quarterbacks to win it. So last year, Jordan Travis had 24. Maybe he can explode this year and approach that, but I would personally need more than 12 to 1. Next up, Michael Penix at Washington. Had an amazing season last year and didn't sniff the Heisman. So I'm not quite high enough on Washington's playoff odds to bet him this season. Bo Nix, 14 to 1 at DraftKings and Bet Online. I think Bo Nix might have been in New York had he stayed healthy last year. So I don't hate this bet, but there is a good amount of turnover on that offensive line, and he loses his offensive coordinator, Kenny Dillingham. So that's kind of enough for me to lay off for now, but wouldn't talk you out of it if you were going to make a bet there. And then lastly, we have Sam Hartman at 18 to 1. And of course, he's now at Notre Dame, transferring from Wake Forest, where he was excellent. So I think he's a big upgrade for the Irish. But that's a very specific system that he was running at Wake. So we'll see if he's able to replicate that success at Notre Dame. And they've been pretty run heavy in aggregate over the past 3 years with Tommy Rees as the offensive coordinator. And we just haven't seen them be a juggernaut where quarterbacks are putting up monster stats. So not a play for me, but let's move on here. And before we get to the bets that I've actually made, here are some that I'm at least considering. I think, or at least I would consider if I had access to these sports books. So pull that up here. And we have Cade Klubnik at 30 to 1 as the first one, quarterback for Clemson. I think the hire of Garrett Riley from TCU as offensive coordinator significantly improved his chances of winning it. You're pairing what seems to be a great offensive coordinator with a 5-star talent in Klubnik, and there's huge upside there. Now, there's uncertainty too, right? It's not like Klubnik looked great this past season, but I think you just, when you're getting these long of odds, you're just trying to look at the best case scenario. Is there a scenario in which it all comes together? And I think there is. I know the offensive line and receiving core question marks, but at 30 to 1, maybe some young guys step up. Maybe they finally dip into the portal after spring practice. We'll see. I just think Garrett Riley is kind of the key there that could change things. Joe Milton, Tennessee, 20 to 1. I just think this is a program under Josh Heupel that the quarterback is always going to put up huge numbers. So you always got to at least look at them when you're talking about the Heisman. But I think I'd probably want a bit higher number before pulling the trigger here. First off, you've got Of course, the 5-star freshman coming in that, there's a chance Nico could end up starting. Second, it's tough in the SEC. You lose to Georgia one game and suddenly you're out of the Heisman race. At least that's what happened with Hendon Hooker this year. And then third, and maybe most importantly, we don't know how consistent Joe Milton could be. Obviously, he looked great in the bowl game against Clemson, but we've seen him in previous games, and it's been kind of up and down. So probably laying off of that for now. Two more interesting bets here, both Alabama quarterbacks, Ty Simpson 50-1 and Jalen Milroe at 80-1. This quarterback battle, based on everything I've been reading and just kind of thinking about it logically, it seems pretty 50-50. So if they hire a promising offensive coordinator, I would consider just putting small bets on both of them and hoping that an unforeseen transfer doesn't come in and it really does just come down to these two guys, because having a ticket of at least 50-1 on the Alabama quarterback doesn't seem too bad. I know the receiving core has taken a dip compared to previous seasons, but top two receivers are back. You're adding in the number one JUCO receiver in the country, and there's plenty of young talent and potential. It's Alabama. So we'll see what I do there. I think Ty Simpson has the higher upside, so maybe I'll just stick with him. We kind of have seen more of Jalen Milroe. Well, we've seen Jalen Milroe and didn't look close to a Heisman guy this year, so we'll see there. But maybe what you've been waiting for. Let's get to the bets that I think are possibly positive EV here, and I've already kind of locked in. So first one, Carson Beck, the potential quarterback for Georgia. 80-1. This is at Bovada. This is an off-market number. Most places have him around 40-1, and most places actually have Brock Vandegrift with shorter odds. Obviously, there's going to be an open competition there, and there's always the risk of a late transfer. But everything seems to be pointing, like I've read what beat writers have said, and just kind of following the Georgia program, seems like Beck is the favorite. And so, even if it is 50-50 at worst for Beck, I don't think 80-1 is a bad number for the potential quarterback of the favorite to win the national title. So, you saw Stetson Bennett made the Heisman ceremony last season. I think Carson Beck, with possibly a better receiving core this upcoming year, could do the same. Kyle McCord for Ohio State. I like this one, 25-1 at Bovada. Again, it's far from a guarantee that he'll get the job, but at this point, he's clearly the favorite. And Ohio State quarterbacks under Ryan Day always put up great numbers. The skill talent around him is some of the best in the country, led, of course, by Marvin Harrison Jr. coming back. O-line has a lot to replace, but at 25-1, I think Kyle McCord is worth a shot. So that'll do it for this episode of the College Football Bros. But be sure to subscribe if you like college football, and let me know in the comments below who you're going to be betting on for the Heisman, if anybody's odds stuck out to you in this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.